Welcome to Guitar Theory Academy. My name is Nathan Ayer, and in today's lesson we're going to be talking about the musical alphabet. So let's get started. Okay, in music we use symbols. So you'll see at the very top the hashtag. That's not actually a hashtag, that is called a sharp. Okay, musicians invented that centuries ago, so too bad millennials, you lost out on naming that a hashtag. It's originally called a sharp. Your flat symbol is like a lowercase b. It's kind of italicized. Okay, that's called a flat. Okay, so we'll talk about what those mean here in a moment. So look at the top. We got 12 notes. If you count them, the ones in yellow are the exact same note. That is one note with two different names. Okay, so the A sharp and B flat is called an enharmonic equivalent. It's the exact same note. When you hit a note on the guitar or the piano, it sounds the same. So if I were to ask you, what note am I hitting? The test question or the test answer would be A sharp or B flat. Okay, if it's not in context, if you're not like in a scale or in a key signature, which we're going to be talking about, okay, it's a sharp or a flat. Okay, so it has two different names. So your answer would have two different answers. Okay, A sharp or B flat. Okay, so let's get started. Let's look at the piano. There's a pattern. If you'll notice, the two black notes followed by three black notes kind of together in a group. Again, followed by 2, 3, 2, 3, right? It repeats. It's exactly like the guitar, where guitar players use kind of fret markers. Piano players use the black notes to kind of navigate the keyboard. So if we're going to find the first letter in the alphabet, we look at the three black notes in a row there that are kind of bunched together, and there's four black notes touching them, and the inside right is where our A is. Okay, and this is true for every single set of three black notes. The inside right white note is an A. Okay, it may be a different pitch, right? But it's still called an A. Okay, so let's just move up the alphabet using just the letter names. We're not going to be using sharps and flats right this second, so we're just going to do the basic letter names, and these are called natural notes. And we're going to talk more about this later, but let's just visually look at where they're at. Okay, so I'm just going to fill in alphabet here. Okay, and again, you notice it repeats itself, right? And you'll notice if I keep going, right, the music alphabet just keeps on going as long as my keyboard. Okay, but you'll notice that's only 7 of the notes, right? We're missing the yellow ones, right? The enharmonic equivalents, the sharps and the flats, okay? So anytime you're on a regular note, we call those natural notes. We have to call them something, right? So the language is the natural notes, meaning there's no sharps or no flats, it's just the letter name, right? A, okay? Anytime we're on A and we want to move it up in pitch, so when you move to the right on a piano, you're moving the pitch up, right? It's getting higher, it sounds higher. You're also physically lifting your hand and moving it up, okay? So you're actually, it's creating that movement, right? You're moving to the right, you're moving it in pitch, okay? Anytime you move it up in pitch, we sharp the note. So it still is called an A, but we called it an A sharp. So it keeps the basic root name, if you will, of the note. The note is called A, we just sharp it, meaning we just raised it in pitch a little bit. Okay, so same thing when you're on a B, okay, or any note really, and you move down and you're lowering the note, okay, in pitch, we call that flatting the note. Okay, so this is called B flat. So again, this is why it has two different names. So depending on where you came from, if you came from B and you moved down in pitch, we call it a B flat. If you're on A sharp. Okay. And remember, this is just in no context. It'll make sense as we further move along in the course, so don't worry about if that's confusing. You'll understand as we move forward. Okay, so notice there's no notes between B and C, but there is if we raise a C to a C sharp, right, or D to D flat. Same thing with D sharp, E flat. There's nothing between E and F. F sharp, G flat, G sharp, A flat. Okay, so there's our 12 notes. Okay, let's jump to the guitar. Same thing applies on the guitar. Interesting thing happens on the guitar is On the piano, when you hit an A, the one that I started on, that's the only note that sounds like that. On the guitar, the way it's set up, there's multiple spots that sound exactly the same. And I'll show you that here in a second. But let's find a random A. I'm just going to pick the 6th string, 5th fret. That happens to be an A. Okay, and of course our pattern is exactly the same, right? We raise it. Notice there's no black notes anymore, right? But the pattern is still the same. B and C are natural notes. It goes to C sharp, D flat, D, D sharp, E flat, E, F, F sharp, G flat, G, G sharp, A flat, and we're back to our A. Okay. Now let's look at the 5th string open. Okay, it's behind the nut there, right? It's tuned to an A. Okay, so when you pluck that open string, right, and now you move to, right, our pattern is exactly the same. So that A is exactly the same as the one on the previous one. That's what makes the guitar unique. Right? If I said, play me an A with that certain pitch, you could either play that open string or you could play the 5th string, 6th fret. Okay, but the point being our pattern still works. Look at the 4th string. Let's find an A. It's at the 7th fret. Right, and our pattern still works. Here's an A on the 2nd fret, 3rd string. Okay, let's do something a little bit different. Let's find, let's look at the 2nd string B, right? It's open there at the B, and notice there's the A and the A sharp, B flat. Those are off kind of the fretboard, if you will. But notice our pattern is still the same. Okay, our 2nd string is tuned to a B. So then if you start moving up the fretboard, right, it just follows the same pattern. And again, look at the 5th fret, 1st string. There's an A there as well. Okay, so we don't really care about pitch right now or about the different kinds of A's, an octave higher, 2 octaves higher, octave lower, that kind of stuff. The whole point of this lesson is just kind of understand the musical alphabet and how it works. It's a pattern. Okay, this works on guitar, it works on banjo, it works on violin. So if this were a banjo and that happened to be an A right there at the fifth fret on a banjo, okay, our A sharp would be right after it, or B flat. And B, C, right, it doesn't matter. Okay, same thing with the cello. Same thing with a horn, a French horn, a tuba, right? Now, the technique is obviously different, but if you raise a note a half step, it's called an A sharp if you happen to be on A, right? So like I say, the position may be different on whatever string instrument you're at, but once you know where the A is, I can find my B. It's a whole step up, right? In this example, it's the 7th fret, right? If this were a mandolin and that happened to be, whatever string I'm on, if I found an A, see how my music theory starts to, I'm one step ahead of most musicians that just start the mandolin because I know that B is a whole step up from A. Okay, so this is how you can apply it to other instruments. Okay, let's talk real quick. Now let's say you're on A sharp, right? Let's say or B flat, right? And you're moving down, to an A. So you wouldn't be flatting an A sharp, right? You're just neutralizing it. So you're going back down to A. So there's no such thing as flatting a sharp note or sharping a flat note. That makes sense. Okay, so you're never sharping the note. Okay, you're just neutralizing it. It's called a natural, right? You're making the note natural. Okay, meaning you're moving it down a half. Okay, that is it for this lesson. The whole point of this lesson is just to kind of introduce the musical alphabet and how it is a pattern and how it applies to the guitar. Okay, so I know I talked a lot about some different things, natural notes, a bunch of different stuff. We will cover that in another lesson, but this lesson is just to kind of familiarize yourself with the pattern. Okay, so that's it for this lesson. We'll see you in the next module.